Hello. I'm here down by the lake on this day, Oshlahu Kamei. Tomorrow begins the Trecena of Kej, but it's also the new year tomorrow. It's the beginning of the new Mayan solar year, or at least the Highland Maya solar year, and that will be the year carried by one Kej. One Kej will be known as the Mam in that year, the grandfather. And I think it's very, very interesting because for me, I also see how the years go in 13-year cycles. So it's like we were in a 13-year cycle that began in 2013 with the year 1 Ich and ended today with the year 13 Ich. Well, that came in 2025, but that year ends today, and we move into a new 13-year period that begins 1 Kej, and then it will end 13 Kej in, kind 2038 or so, somewhere around about there. So they're not all going to be Kej years. It will go 1 Kej, and then it will go 2 Ich, and then 3 Noch, 4 Ich, 5 Kej, 6 Ich, 7 Noch, 8 Ich, and so on and so on. So the years will cycle as you've always seen. But it's just kind of interesting that perhaps a 52-year period can be divided into 13-year periods or subdivided into 13-year periods. And we're finishing up one of those. And so for me, I feel a great deal of novelty coming in. Now, obviously, I'm going to go through the properties of the Trecena as I normally would, but maybe you could also think of this as the properties that we're going to follow throughout the next year and the next 13 years. Because 1 Kej, for me, is all about the reconnection with the natural world. Might also be the reconnection with our own strength and power when we connect with the natural world. Last night I had a dream. And I don't normally talk like this in these videos, I know. But the phrase that came to me about the 1 Kej time, about this year and probably this Trecena, is under new management. Yeah, I thought it was kind of like an interesting phrase to come out. But it's very, very interesting because one of the things that I also think about when I'm thinking about the power of the year, the power of the new Mam, the new year lord that's coming in, is how was that Mam the last time that we saw them? Because as I said, the years move in a 52-year cycle. So if we want to understand some themes of the coming year, as it were, this 1 Kej year, perhaps we could look back at the previous instance of 1 Kej and see what happened then. And that 1 Kej year was 1974, and in 1974 we had resignations of several leaders, particularly from the Western world, as it were. There was the resignation of the US President, the resignation of the UK Prime Minister, the resignation of the Israeli Prime Minister, the resignation of the Portuguese Prime Minister, and the resignation of the German or West German Chancellor, as it was at the moment. So this is maybe, when I was looking these things up, maybe this is what influenced this dream that came out as under new management, because we can see Kej as representing leadership and the 1 as representing renewal or novelty. And so of course, kind of like for that new management to come in, the old management has to leave. So who knows? I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about for sure. So we are coming out of the 13 Ich year, the 13 Ich year, which has been blustery with uncontrolled words, strong changes, hurricane strength words is what I would say, because 13 Ich, kind of like it can represent the hurricane very easily. And so, kind of like perhaps some of the words which have been used, some of the rhetoric which has been thrown around, the chaos which has ensued it's like every day you think, well, it can't get more chaotic, and lo and behold it does. And here comes the wind just to remind me about that. I see one Kej as being more gentle, more docile. Now, it doesn't mean that if this under new management thing is going to happen, then of course there will be some upset, there will be some change, there will be some turmoil going through it. But it's kind of like in order to bring in something which I see as being strong but gentle, kind of like that's the Kej energy. It's kind of like, it's forceful, it's determined, but when it's, kind of like turned down to one, as it were, then it's the younger version of itself. It's the newborn version, new possibility. And I also see within that, if I had a theme for this year, be very much about the reconnection with the nature, with the natural world. Because, kind of we've gone out of balance a bit. We got sort of stuck in our screens a lot. Here you are, probably, obviously watching this on the screen. Maybe you're listening to it or something like that. So maybe that's going to be a bit different. But really, kind of like it's about going out and reconnecting with nature, and through, let's say, your connection with nature, helping to understand where you can draw your strength, what brings you strength. How you can see kind of, let's say, the truth of our world within nature, because kind of like anything which is outside of nature is kind of like a bit manipulated or weird right now. So, perhaps it's a good year to be planning a trip in the forest or whatever it might be. Anyhow, let's get on with the Trecena of Kej. And we're going to begin, of course, with the day 1 Kej. 1 Kej on the 18th of February. And this is a day, as I said, it's renewal of connection with nature. Now, I will be making ceremony at sunrise to welcome the new man in. And in the garden, in front of the mountain, in the green space, amongst the birds singing. And I have to say that I feel, I feel very fortunate to be in that kind of space. Thank you, bird. Kind of like to remind me of my connection with the natural world, and it brings me strength and it brings me peace to be in that kind of place. And perhaps this is a reminder, it's a good reminder day. Now, for those of you who are living in, well, I was going to say the far north, but you don't even really have to go that far north for it to maybe not be that kind of like day when you particularly want to go outside. 18th of February is not necessarily known for its fantastic weather and that kind of thing. But there's something about connecting with the elements, something about connecting with nature. And so, as I said, the theme for this Trecena, the theme for this year, about the reconnection. So maybe you're just going to start planning it of like how you can do it, where you want to go. Kind of like if you're going to, let's say, set a resolution to make sure that you get out into nature at least once a week or something like that. That might be a good way for reconnection. From Jun Kej on the 19th of February, we will then go into Anil. So Anil, the ripening. Anil, the goldening. The turning yellow. Anil, the one who brings things to their maturity. And here with the number 2, which can represent self-sacrifice, can also represent relationships and partnerships. So, there's a lot of things that we can see around there about what we might kind of, let's say, sacrifice of ourselves in order to bring out a later harvest. What we might sacrifice in order to bring out the joy within our relationship. Because, kind of like I'm very aware that self-sacrifice sounds like a pretty kind of like scary phrase and all that kind of thing. But it's about putting our energy into what we love. It's about putting our energy into culturing and nurturing our relationship so it grows and glows. So too, Anil may present you with the opportunity to say, kind of like if I want to really take this to its highest possibility, what might I want to give? What energy can I put into it? What little sacrifices can I make in order to do that? We could also see that 2 Anil might also be about a choice about what you want to ripen. Because, kind of like the phrase, water the flowers you wish to grow, keeps coming to mind as well. And it's kind of like in this one Kej year, as we begin it, in this Kej Trecena, as we connect with nature, we might look out and say, right, okay, where do I want to put my energy? What do I want to put that energy into to bring to its full and abundant ripeness? 2 Anil may bring you the kind of opportunity to make that choice, particularly if you get out and have a look into the natural world. On the 20th of February, we will move into the day 3 Toch. So we have Toch, the nawal of offering, Toch, the nawal of service, Toch, the nawal of the sacred fire, and here with the number 3. The number 3 representing the home, representing the inner world. And I've often used the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup when it comes to the day 3 Toch. There is an opportunity to nourish ourselves on that. We may have been through our Tz'i process, our 5 days of purification, our 5 days of hard work to kind of like get ourselves ready for the new solar year. And for 3 Toch, I think there's another opportunity to take a moment, to take a break in order to nourish ourselves. Kind of like if we want to be of service going into this year, we need to do that. Now, it falls in that Hun Kej Trecena. And I was saying about Kej reinitiating our contact, re-establishing our connection with the natural world. And so for me, perhaps this is it. It's kind of like, could our, let's say, nourishing ourselves, our service to ourselves, as it were, being saying, look, kind of like, you know what, I'm going to clear my diary on this day. I'm going to take some time with the animals. I'm going to take some time with the birds. I'm going to take some time out in nature in order to bring that strength into myself so that I can then be of service to others afterwards. And so for me, that's a great theme for that 3 Kej day. For that 3 Toch day. From 3 Toch on the 21st of February, we will then go into the day 4 Tz'i. So Tz'i, the nawal of faith and loyalty. Tz'i, the nawal of justice and law. And here, coupled with the number 4, the very physical, grounded, down-to-earth, practical reality. So one of the ways we could look at it is, how could we bring that faith, that loyalty, that unconditional love into the physical reality around us? How can we actually demonstrate that in the physical? What might we do with it? Another way that we could look at it is on like the practical application of the law or whatever it might be, whether that's, kind of like the human law or the laws of nature, being as it's this Kej Trecena. It's like, how am I engaging with the laws of nature? That might be a very interesting conversation to have with yourself on that 4 Tz'i day. So it's also a day on which that practicality of like, how can I really, kind of like, if I am saying that, kind of like I love the natural world or whatever, and, kind of like unconditional love that we show for nature, like this is a day to ground it, to make it a practice, to really put your, put your energy where your mouth is, as it were. So again, kind of like your trust, your loyalty, your faith in the natural world. These things may well be, let's say, tested or brought out on that day 4 Tz'i. From 4 Tz'i on the 22nd of February, we will then go into 5 Bats. So Bats, the nawal of the creation. Bats, the nawal of creativity, of weaving. And here with the number 5, representing, putting our work into it, putting our energy into it. Again, it's a day that calls on us to put our, kind of personal energy into something, into our creation. And, kind of like for me, I was thinking about how, kind of like walking out into the hills around here, walking out anywhere, to be perfectly honest, is something that, kind of like, we've got to put our energy into it. It doesn't just, there's no point in zipping around in a golf cart or something like that. It's about going and really getting your feet on the ground, going and getting out into it. Maybe that's going to take some effort. Maybe that's going to take some force. But 5 bats gives you the ability to put your energy into it. And what you put your energy into, that which you create. Because it's all about the creative essence. It's all about the creative spark. It's all about bringing that creation into reality. And so on 5 bats, it's like maybe you've got an idea about what it is that you want to create. And it's like, right, okay, great. Now's the time to put your energy into it. Now, perhaps through putting your energy into your connection with the natural world, it will inspire that creativity within you. From 5 bats, we will then go into the day 6 which will fall on the 23rd of February. So, 6 the day of the journey, the day of the path. The day on which we might work out what it is that we want to explore next. That might be physical, material, emotional, or spiritual, because it's all about exploration and experience. And we see it there with the number 6, a number which represents stability, a number which represents the family. I see it connecting the sky and the earth together and manifesting them into the physical realm. So yes, it might be about our journey, it might be about our path, but it's also something which can be seen as bringing stability to it. It's kind of like calling on heaven and earth to understand where our path might take us next. So it's a great day to stabilize whatever journey that you might be taking. It's a great day to get the inspiration on where you might look next in order to, kind of like further your life experience. On the 24th of February, we will then go into the day 7 the nawal of house and home, the nawal of leadership, of standing up straight for what is right, of being the strength to bring harmony into your home and harmony into your community. And here with the number 7, I like to think of as like standing on top of the pyramid, being able to see in all directions. And when we can see in all directions, we got to make a choice. What are we going to choose to bring harmony to our community? What choices are we going to make in order to bring a sense of peace, in order to help our community thrive? Now, there's sometimes that it might be difficult to make those choices, because sometimes the choices come along and we kind of get scared about things. We're not sure about things, or we're not sure whether we've got the power, the authority to do it. We're not sure whether it's the right thing to do to, kind of like, maybe it's the unpopular opinion. But sometimes we also have to make that happen in order to, kind of like keep our society or our home in equilibrium. So, on this day 7, it's a great day to make your choices, to look from your vantage point to see what works in your community, what works in your house, in your home, and what doesn't work. There's been something that's kind of, let's say, been bubbling up for a little while. Maybe 7 is the day to stand up and make the decision about, kind of like making choices. It's the day to stand up and make your decision about saying something in order to restore harmony and help to bring prosperity back to home and community. On the 25th of February, we then go into the day 8 Ish, the nawal of the altar, the nawal of the spirit of Mother Earth. So it's almost as if, kind of like we're in this Kej Trecena. And whilst we're connecting with the natural world, the ceremonial day in the middle of the Trecena is the day that connects us with the spirit of the earth. So, with this day, it's a day of celebration of the altars and of the shrines. For me, each days, of course, are very, very important. 8 days are always ceremonial days as far as I'm concerned as well. And so, kind of like if we see 8 Ish as the ceremony for the sacred sites, the ceremony for the Mother Earth. So, a great day to make your petition, a great day to show your gratitude, a great day to make your offerings, to give thanks for all that comes from the Mother Earth, to make your offerings, to give thanks for your connection to the sacred sites and the natural altars around you. On the 26th of February, we then go into the day 9 Tz'ikin. So Tz'ikin, the nawal of the bird, but also the nawal of vision, of the visionary, of receiving the vision, bringing clarity of sight on what we want to focus on. And here we have it combined with the number 9, the number which can represent the feminine, but also the number which can represent life itself. And so, in some ways, I would see 9 Tz'ikin as representing our life vision in this Trecena of renewal of our connection with the natural world. This might be a day to bring into focus what is our life vision. Where are we going? How can we again bring prosperity to our lineage, our family, our community through that vision that we have? The other side of Tz'ikin, I think, can also bring in distraction. It's about the lack of focus that can happen from time to time. And so 9 Tz'ikin might be asking us the questions: what are we focusing on in our life? Where are we putting our vision, our focus? And maybe what in life is distracting us away from achieving that or moving towards that life vision? On Tz'ikin days, I often think about how it's a good day to be calling in the clarity in our vision. And so 9 Tz'ikin might be a great day to be calling in clarity in your life vision. On the 27th of February, we will then go into the day 10 Ajmak. So Ajmak, the nawal of forgiveness, the nawal of acceptance, and the number 10 representing the coming together of hands in agreement, in society, in community. Now, there's a lot of ways that could be looked at, because, in some ways we could see it as representing that ability or the forgiveness that comes from community. The ability to forgive within our community, the ability to be forgiven within our community as well. As we begin this new year, maybe there are some things that have happened that we're not particularly proud of or something like that. Or maybe there are some things that, we need to say, right, okay, if I hold on to this too much longer, then it's going to become a burden that stops me from, being part of my community, or stops me from being able to come to agreements. So 10 Ajmak is a great day to, be seeking forgiveness from the community, or, be forgiving those elements of community that have gone out of balance. There is something, for me, with Ajmak, it's sweetness, with Ajmak representing humanity and the acceptance. And there are some things within our community that, people are people, and we're just going to have to accept things the way that they are, right? Well, sometimes. So 10 Ajmak may well bring up those themes of sweetness and bitterness, because that's the two sides, if we can live our life sweetly, or if we're going to be bitter. And it's how can we come to a resolution within community to bring back the sweetness within our hearts, rather than holding on to bitterness that we might have had with regards to things which have happened within our society. On the 28th of February, we will then move into 11 Noach. 11 Noach. Noach, the nawal of the mind, with the 11, a number which is very intuitive in its movement. It's not necessarily particularly logical. The 11, I often think about, going in different directions following our intuition, and through that coming up with innovation. So, kind of like Noch can be very logical in its way, and the 11 kind of throws in a few kind of like illogical turns. And that's where true innovation comes from. If Noch is all about solving problems, sometimes we're not going to solve problems by kind of like repeating the same patterns. We, kind of like the knowledge that we've put together in a particular framework has got us so far. And sometimes it takes somebody to come along and, let's say, look at things in a more intuitive way to actually come up with the solution to the problem. 11 Noch is a day on which exactly that kind of idea may come in. It's a day on which we could expect to kind of like receive our knowledge, or kind of like put knowledge together that comes from different directions in order to come up with some kind of like really interesting and innovative idea. From 11 Noach, on the 1st of March, we will go into 12 Tijax. Tijax, the nawal of the surgeon. Tijax, the nawal of healing, the nawal of the warrior. And here, with the number 12, representing the bringing of all of life's experiences, the bundling of it, bringing it all together. And so for me, 12 Tijax, using our life experience to understand what to cut, exactly how to cut, where to cut, in order to bring about a higher state. Okay? So 12 Tijax, we could see as using our life experience in order to purify, using our life experience in order to heal. That obsidian blade is sharp. That obsidian blade is a finely honed tool that will finely hone other things, of course. But it's kind of like, it's also a case of like, in the right hands, it can be a thing of wonder. It can bring out purity. It can really cut through to the truth. It can cut through to the divine. And the 12, our life experience. And so this is a day to think about how you might use your life experience to really cut through the illusions, to cut through anything which is out of balance in order to heal, in order to unite, in order to bring things together. For me, 12 Tijax has a huge possibility when we choose to engage our life experience, all that life experience that we have together, and use that to guide our precision instrument that says, this is true and that is not. This is pure and that is not. And we're going to cut away the untruth. We're going to cut away the impurity in order to bring out something better. Now, perhaps that experience might have come through your connection with the natural world. Perhaps that's part of it as well. But for me, the day 12 Tijax is really a fantastic day to, kind of like whatever element it might be that you're applying it to, whether it is, kind of like the general world around you, is really about drawing on your life experience in order to, kind of like cut through to what is correct, what is pure, what is holy. And then finally, on the 2nd of March, we will go into the day 13 Kawok. So Kawok, the nawal of the rain, the nawal of the storm. Kawok, the nawal of the midwife, the one who brings the new into the world. And here, combined with the number 13, representing the ancestors, representing spirit. So, a very, very powerful day. Here in Guatemala, I can't say that I would expect there to be, some massive rainstorm on the day 13 Kawok. That might not be true for other places, and certainly it's the time of year for some people. But it's also kind of like about bringing something new in that is birthed from the ancestors. So kind of like if we think about the 13 representing the ancestors, if we think about it representing spirit, it's kind of like the spirit midwife. Now, what's it going to bring in? Well, that will be the next Trecena, which will be Hunahpu, which is obviously, they've got a character from the Popol Vuh there that's coming in and that kind of thing. And so perhaps this is kind of like spirit giving it a nudge to move along. Spirit, like the ancestors, providing that, let's say, push, providing that assistance to help us to birth something new into the world. So it is a good day to be washing away what Tijax has cut. It is a good day to be, kind of like for, well, I want to use the term the final push, but, kind of like that kind of thing. It's kind of like call on the assistance of spirit to help you to bring the new into the world, whatever that might be. So again, a powerful day. And perhaps it's through your connection with the natural world throughout this Trecena that helps you to understand, kind of like, and to have the strength and the power to birth that new era into the world. So I hope that's been interesting for you, and I wish you many blessings in this new solar cycle and in this new Trecena. I look forward to seeing you again in 13 days' time for the Trecena of Ajmak. Thank you.